Let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, frankly wild paradigm shift that is completely rewiring how digital products are built right now. I mean, if you work in tech, you know the ground has been shifting beneath our feet for a bit. But today, we're going to visualize exactly what is happening to the fundamental DNA of product development. We are talking about an inversion that changes absolutely everything.
So for most of the last decade, product teams comfortably operated on this golden rule, right? One product manager for every 4 to 6 engineers. It was just the standard. It made perfect sense, and you didn't really question it because, well, it was just how the industry worked. Engineering was the expensive, heavy machinery of the whole operation. You needed this specific ratio just to keep the gears turning smoothly without burning through your resources. But here is where the earthquake happens. As Andrew Ng recently observed, AI tools have made individual engineers so incredibly fast that this ratio is completely inverting. Seriously, think about the gravity of that. A single engineer armed with modern AI can now produce what used to require an entire team. So we're moving from 1 PM supporting 4 engineers to something closer to 2 PMs per 1 engineer. This is fundamentally shifting the bottleneck of product development entirely out of the engineering department and squarely onto the shoulders of product management.
Section 1. The Old World Constraint, when building took months.
In that familiar era, engineering was scarce. It was highly expensive and, let's be honest, notoriously slow. Because of that major constraint, the product manager acted as a sort of protective filter. The PM's primary job was actually to say no. You see, the engineering queue was always vastly longer than what could realistically be built in a single quarter, so PMs spent their days prioritizing, writing exhaustive specs, and guarding the engineers to make sure they only worked on what truly mattered. You were essentially the gatekeeper of a very slow pipeline. Looking back, this era kind of highlights our past bad habits. Because those build cycles were so incredibly slow, you could totally get away with patchy, inconsistent discovery. Discovery was valuable, sure, but it was strictly secondary. You could do a few customer interviews, launch a rough hypothesis, and then basically use the long, slow development months to gather more signals and course correct before the feature actually shipped. The build loop literally bought you time. You were never really punished for slow discovery because engineering was always slower.
Moving on to Section 2, the new product bottleneck, when building takes days.
Execution has basically become a rocket ship. The code is just flowing. So our focus has to shift entirely to the magnifying glass, knowing exactly what validated problem we should be building next. Engineers are no longer sitting around waiting for you to finish implementing a complicated ticket. They are waiting for you to tell them what to do. The scarcity has shifted completely from the execution of the code over to the discovery of the value.
Which brings us to a pretty terrifying scenario. If you've been on a fast-moving team in the last 18 months, you have probably felt the cold panic of this exact question. What happens when the engineering queue hits 0? Seriously, when your AI-supercharged engineer finishes their 2-week sprint in 3 days and looks at you for the next task, what do you actually do?
Well, the crucial point is this. If you let that product tray drop to 0, that dangerous void results in engineers building unvalidated ideas, reactive patches, or honestly, whatever's easiest to grab. Nature abhors a vacuum, right? And a bored, super-fast engineer will fill it with something. But it likely won't be something that moves your core metrics. It'll just be technical debt masquerading as progress. If you can't give them the next validated thing to work on, you are actively harming the product.
All right, Section 3, 3 fundamental changes and the rules of the AI era.
The night and day difference of this new era demands we completely rethink our operations. First, let's look at discovery. Yesterday, it was a phase, right? A kind of patchy, quarterly ritual. Today, it has to be a continuous weekly practice running ahead of delivery at all times. Second, prioritization. Yesterday, it was about making really hard trade-offs between expensive things. Today, the enemy isn't the wrong priority. It is an empty queue. Prioritization is now all about maintaining a validated queue just to keep up with a blisteringly fast delivery pipeline. And finally, product judgment. In the old model, your bad calls were hidden for quarters. Today, your product judgment compounds in a matter of weeks. A PM who doesn't surface validated problems will instantly see features nobody uses and a massive mountain of work. Your judgment compounds way faster than ever before.
Ultimately, this ratio inversion acts as a massive forcing function. It strips away all the busy work and proves what was actually always true. The truly hard part of the job isn't writing specs, it isn't attending stakeholder meetings, and it definitely isn't coloring in a roadmap. No, the hard part is constantly, relentlessly providing evidence for what comes next. It's knowing exactly what to build and having the receipts to prove it.
That brings us to Section 4, How to Adapt Now, with the 4-step operational playbook.
So here is how you actually build a resilient, modern team right now. Step 1. You absolutely must commit to a fixed weekly discovery cadence. Not, oh, when we have time. I'm talking a minimum of 2 to 3 customer conversations every single week. Step 2. Always keep 3 to 5 validated opportunities in a ready-to-build queue. If that queue drops to 0, you don't have a priority problem, you have a massive emergency capacity problem. Step 3. Ruthlessly track your learning velocity. You've got to compress the time it takes from suspecting a problem to having enough solid evidence to build the solution. And Step 4. Explicitly connect your learning to your building. You see, when you ship fast, you tend to forget fast. You need to durably connect your customer insights to your shipped features in a highly searchable place so you don't end up losing the plot.
Section 5. Winning in 2026 and who survives the inversion. Looking ahead, the core role of figuring out what is actually worth building is exactly the same as it has always been. But the pressure, the visibility, and the sheer speed of the stakes, those have absolutely skyrocketed. The reality is crystal clear. The teams that will absolutely dominate by 2026 won't necessarily be the ones with the largest army of engineers. Headcount is just no longer the ultimate mode. The winners will be the teams who have the fastest, most disciplined discovery loops. They're going to be the ones who know exactly what to build next every single week and can empirically prove it with rock-solid evidence.
And this, by the way, is exactly why we're seeing the rise of dedicated infrastructure tools like Specky. When teams are shipping validated opportunities at breakneck speeds, they can no longer rely on messy spreadsheets or random notes scattered across a dozen different apps. The market is clearly shifting toward purpose-built tools designed specifically for this inverted ratio. Tools that systematically keep your customer interviews, your hypotheses, and your decisions all connected in one searchable graph. Modern product teams need infrastructure that actually moves as fast as their AI-enabled engineers.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one critical, maybe even somewhat uncomfortable question to ask your own team tomorrow morning. Take a hard look at your processes, look at your speed, and ask yourself, is your discovery loop truly fast enough to feed your new AI-enabled engineers, or have you already become the bottleneck? Really think about it. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and I will catch you on the next one.